the crystal of Chalcedony may offer balance, harmony, and hopeful clarity of health. At first sight, we're met by a sharp initial introduction and a sheer sense of vibrance. We note an echo of layered forms as the principles of abstract design make their initial mark in the canvas before us. When you first see this scene, your eye is likely going to be drawn towards the use of color. This red tone is already such a high attention color, but the intense saturation combined with a orange-yellow accent certainly reminds of fire. It's going to instantly capture your attention. We see what appears to be a wide analogous or tetradic color scheme in this composition. We see how two sets of blue-green and yellow-red clash against each other upon a neutral black base. And of course, the use of a black background allows any tones or colors upon that to contrast with absolute intensity. We certainly feel that here alongside the intense saturation, there's no doubt about that. And the choice to place certain forms within certain spaces of this scene lends pretty valuable insight. We see two main orbs that command the space on the right side of the composition. The larger orb below almost feels like a visual anchor of sorts. There is an inherent weight as it's tied to the rocky base, while another floats quite freely above. With this in mind, there is a clear sense of weight present on the right side of the canvas, especially compared to the left that is much more empty, so your eye is going to be inherently drawn towards the right side of the composition. The element of form is one of the most important principles to consider when viewing this piece. There is a distinct difference offered by the naturally round spherical orbs versus the jagged and seemingly random rocks at the base. Of course, this is a contrast of form here, but we also see a contrast of texture. We can't help but feel the presence of a diverse range of texture and of course the contrast that is created. There is a distinct difference drawn between the smoother spherical orb compared to the rougher rocks below. And after a short time with this work, you are bound to notice the important visual effect that is quite characteristic of the original artist's individual style. This is known as the anaglyph. This is most reminiscent of multi-layered forms that do remind of early 3D visual art. This visual effect is a signature element of surea.i Labs' work. We see this same effect present in additional works such as the background of citrine. We see this present in the work entitled Airship, certainly in the clouds, also in the distance as well. And we even see the slight presence of this in the left region of the work upon the clouds of the work entitled Blasphemy 4. Once again, all three of these works have the same exact anaglyph visual effect that we see in the original work Chalcedony. Returning back to the original work Chalcedony, we see this sort of stereo effect that is resulting from that anaglyph visual style. This may incite a sense of motion and energy that once again is quite reminiscent of early 3D visual art. But I extend the question off to you. What comes to mind when you're first looking at this work? Of course, it is quite abstract, but let me know what you think down in the comments below. The title of this work is Chalcedony, is often used to describe a variety of fine-grained crystal quartz. Although it's typically translucent with a waxy texture, most crystals are often treated as sacred, magical, and even divine like gems of fire. This, of course, is due to their ability to intensify or catalyze light. If you hold a crystal, a gemstone, or even a piece of glass up to the light, it will make it more intense and it feels iridescent or sacred or magic. That certainly lends an ethereal visual experience, and we feel a bit of that within the composition before us. But there is a clear duality that is present within this piece. On the one hand, there is a sense of the clear, the pure, and the ethereal, of course seen in the crystals, while on the other we're brought back to a harsh reality by the dark, solid, rough, and earthly rocks below. There is imagination and reality, there is the floating freely, and then there is the raw material reality below. But like I said, this work is rather abstract, so with the element of abstract art, we often don't look at symbolism. We often look at the principles of design, like the literal visual elements. So we see within this work form, texture, light, color, and saturation. Those often take center stage instead of symbolism when you're looking at a work of abstract art. And that is especially true of modern and contemporary art. Despite the archetypes or the symbolism that we tried to explore here, at the end of the day, it's probably pretty subjective. And yet despite this, it feels magical in ways that are difficult to describe. With the clear orbs and their free-floating nature, we can't help but feel like there's something sacred or divine that is present within this piece. It's very difficult to put into words. But once again, I extend the question off to you. How does this work make you feel, or what do you see when you view this piece? Let me know down in the comments below. The piece before us is a product of the AI Generative medium of expression, with additional edits in Procreate. That makes this a mixed media or multimedia work of art. The original artist surea.i Labs deals with many abstract expressions, but often with very deep and rich, profound influences, always very important to note there. At the end of the day, although this is a very abstract work where visual elements of form, texture, light, and color, saturation take center stage, at the end of the day, the symbolism of this work could feel rather subjective, but for me personally, this feels quite divine.